Hello and welcome to my show. My name is Charlotte and I will be your host for this very special segment celebrating Women's History Month. Every March, Women's History Month provides an opportunity to honour the generations of trailblazing women and girls who have built our nation, shaped our progress and strengthened our character as people. Today we have the privilege of speaking to and highlighting women who are making a difference within their communities. We caught up with our first guest, Jenny, who is the co-owner of CJ School of Ballroom Dancing right here in our neighbourhood. Take a look.
Hi, I'm Jenny Hurt and I work with my husband Clive. We have a dance school, CJ's Dance School in Cambridge. We are teaching ballroom, Latin American dancing mostly. We teach most nights a week. We also do sequence dancing, which is a little offshoot of ballroom dancing. It's lovely just to see people enjoying themselves and getting that sense of achievement when it finally clicks. You often see that. I enjoy seeing that in people. You come out, you can forget your problems. It's just away from what's going on in the world. It's like a little bubble in a way. So yeah, I think it is. It's just a little bit of escapism, just to come and relax, have some fun, chat with friends, and enjoy the music. Yeah, very much so.
It's so great seeing the impact Jenny is making through the creative outlet of dance and how it uplifts all those who are involved. Now, to kick off our next guest, we have the Managing Director of Girl Talk in the studio with us today. We're looking forward to speaking more to her, but for now, let's take a look at what Cambridge Girl Talk is all about.
Okay. Stick stuff on it.
Yeah.
You could be like, bring your own materials or something.
Yeah, they have like pens.
I was like,
I'm Lexi. I'm a second-year English student at St. John's, and I'm the managing director of Cambridge Girl Talk. Cambridge Girl Talk is just a platform that is interested in facilitating conversations between women. We want women in the same room talking to each other about what it means to be women. We mostly have a blog platform for women to post visual art, poetry, opinion pieces, but we're also trying to branch out into in-person events.
so the next week looks a little like,
Yeah, the whole
Like the pieces that we publish are more relatable to them and just like another form of media that Cambridge women can sort of see themselves in more. It does feel really special and just like it's nice to feel like you're actually doing something that's making a difference.
Yeah, and then we have like a ton of car stock that they could paste it on. So all we would have
I hope our audience just feels seen and feels like there's someone out there who has the same thoughts about life as a woman or is facing the same issues that they're facing. And I hope they also feel called to share their own voice.
Now let's welcome our guest, Lexi Cowilson. Lexi, we're so happy to have you here today.
It's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
It's an honour, and Cambridge Girl Talk is so unique, and it really makes an impact in the community. Could you tell us more about the background of how it began and the mission you're planning to do?
Yeah, so Cambridge Girl Talk was founded in 2016 by two female students at Cambridge. We are interested in celebrating women's achievements and women's words, mostly through our online magazine. Our articles publish everything from commentary on current issues, creative writing, visual art, interviews with female academics, and so much more. Now we have a team of 6 amazing women, secretary, blog editor, publicity officer. We have a columnist, and we even have a resident artist who illustrates many of our articles.
Oh wow, I mean that's so great.
Yeah.
And I'm sure as the managing director you play a huge role in this. Could you maybe tell us more about your background and how you got into this?
Yeah, so I'm originally from Atlanta, Georgia, where I studied English at Oglethorpe University. I'm now here studying English at St. John's College. And it was while I was studying for my undergraduate degree back in Atlanta that I really found my passion and, analyzing gender dynamics in literature and using women's writing as a springboard to sort of open up new conversations about what it might mean to be a woman in the world. So when I came to Cambridge and I first saw Girl Talk and saw all of the amazing work they were doing through literature and through writing, I just knew immediately that I had to get involved.
I mean, Cambridge Girl Talk is an amazing group and such an impact you're making.
Thank you.
Now back to the group. What are some of the biggest accomplishments you guys have had and any obstacles you've faced?
Yeah, so like most groups this year, I think one of our biggest accomplishments is just overcoming COVID-19 and navigating all the ever-changing protocols that are in place. We've really, managed to branch out of the online space this year, and we've hosted many in-person events. Most of them have been arts and crafts related, which has been great fun. We had a tote bag decorating event last term, which had a huge turnout, and everyone seemed to really enjoy it. And recently, in February, we had a Galentine's card making event, which is our spin on Valentine's. So we had a bunch of women come together and write cards to their grandmothers, their best friends, their roommates, just the women who were special to them in their lives. And it was really great fun.
Oh my gosh, that's so cute. Have you ever had anyone scrutinise your group in any way?
Yeah, actually, one of the biggest obstacles I think we've had is just commentators sort of questioning the name of the group, Girl Talk. And at the beginning of this year, we had a serious conversation as an executive community whether we should change it to something more serious sounding or something a little less juvenile or girlish. I think that's been a lot of the feedback we've had from people. And I'm really proud to say that we decided to stick with the name Girl Talk because, it's important for us to show that there's nothing contradictory about being a young woman who wants to talk about feminist politics, but also the music they like and the fashion they're wearing, pop culture and poetry and all these different things that can all coexist. And personally, I'm really proud that we're a platform that shows, it's okay to be a young woman and talk about things that are interesting to young women. And, it's important to us that we still show these young women respect and take them seriously.
Yeah, and of course you should be proud. You shouldn't have to change your name for anyone.
Right.
I'm very glad that you kept to what you originally wanted to do.
Me too.
I mean, I'm sure it was tough when people started scrutinising the name and your group.
Yeah, it really made us reflect and, sit back and think, what are we doing here? What is the cause? Like, who is this for? And I think in the end, it just made us stronger as a group and gave us a clear vision of what we wanted to get out of this experience.
Yeah, I'm sure it did. Perseverance is key, isn't it, really?
Yes.
And we celebrate you and your community.
Thank you.
Also, I know you have some upcoming events coming up, so would you like to tell us more about those?
Yes, so we have 2 big events coming up for March. The first one is our LGBTQ open mic night. We don't have a venue yet, but follow us on Instagram and check our website for updates, cambridgegirltalk.com. Yes, so this is just meant to be, an open and joyful place for women and women-aligned people in the LGBTQ community that come together and try their hand at slam poetry or musical performances or even stand-up comedy. And then our second event is the Reclaim the Night March, which will be happening on March 11th. And we will be meeting outside Emmanuel College in Cambridge to walk together as a group. And this is really just an event to show that women will not back down. We will not cower in light of sexual violence and street violence that's been happening. And it's a night to reclaim our bodies and show that we will not cower in fear, basically.
Yeah, and as you should, you shouldn't cower in fear.
Right.
And those events sound extremely fun, and honestly, I would love to join.
You should.
I think I will, actually. It's really important to bring awareness to stuff like this, though, isn't it?
Mm.
Especially as there's been quite a few recent spiking events in Cambridge.
Right.
I'm sure you've heard quite a lot about them.
Yes.
So I'd like to take a moment to share a clip from LBC Radio in which you were interviewed to speak on the very serious topic of the spiking attacks.
And have you been a victim, or do you have a girlfriend who's been a victim?
I personally haven't, but I know multiple people that have been spiked not through injections, but we've been getting anonymous stories into our Instagram page, and on that we've had a couple of stories from injections in Leeds.
But I'm sorry, pardon my ignorance, the girls must presumably feel it. I mean, we've all had, well, sorry, you haven't because you're too young, but many of us have just had our COVID jab, so we all know what needles feel like. How do these blokes get away with it?
Well, it's really hard. When you're in a club, it's obviously very dark, there's a lot of people around. Sometimes something can brush past you and suddenly they're gone. But as soon as you realise, they're lost in the crowd and you won't find them again. So it can be really difficult. And also, in some cases, it just scratches. I heard one story of a needle just scratching someone and the liquid dripping out. And that's how they notice that it doesn't always fully inject. So it can just be really difficult. It's quite a chaotic situation in a club. So it can be really impossible to trace who has done this.
What do you want the police? What do you want local councils? What do you want nightclubs to do, Izzy?
So we're really focusing on the clubs to take responsibility for this. We want to see a duty of care from the clubs, that they understand spiking as an issue and they have protocols and policies in place so that if somebody comes to them having been spiked, they know what to do and they know how to look after them safely, whether that's a place they can go and recover, making sure they get home safely. There've been too many times that, you know, people have just come to a bouncer having been spiked and they've just got kicked out and left on their own to walk home in this awful condition. And it can be really traumatizing. So we just want clubs to look after the people in their clubs and make sure that everybody is safe on a night out.
I mean, it's terrifying, isn't it? You never know what's going to happen in a club. I mean, I'm sure you know of people who have been spiked.
Right, yeah. You know, we first started seeing reports of rising spiking incidents way back in October, and each month since there have just been more and more stories coming out. And now, as you've seen in the radio broadcast, there's reports of women being spiked via injection with needles, which is just even more frightening. And really, our role in Girl Talk, I think, is just to let women in Cambridge know that we are in a safe space for them to come and discuss their own experiences, whether it's direct experience with spiking or if it's someone they know, a loved one. And I think it's really important to have that space to unpack how these awful events, you know, influence their relationship to the university culture and the nightclub space. And the key really, I think, is just compassion and solidarity, you know, whether it's someone you know or not. I think if you're a woman in a nightclub space, you need to be looking out for other women and just make sure that we're all taking care of each other.
Yeah, definitely. Even if you don't know any other woman in the club, you should at least make sure to check on everyone.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a scary thing, isn't it?
Yes, it's terrifying.
And it's really important that Cambridge Girl Talk is, you know, hosting these sessions and events to help people talk about it.
Yeah, I think that's really the key for Reclaim the Night. You know, sexual violence against women is a decades, centuries-long story, but especially with these new stories coming out about spiking in our hometown of Cambridge, it's important that people see us on the streets, see us linking arms and walking together, and know that we have each other's backs.
Yeah, definitely. It's become much more common lately, hasn't it?
Right.
Do you have any ideas of how others can be aware and how others can help?
You know, I think it's so hard to sort of try to anticipate the actions of other people, especially like, you know, predatory men in a space like that. So rather than, you know, monitoring what we're wearing or how much we're drinking, I think women should allow themselves to have a good time and allow themselves to live life to the fullest, but also just make sure you stay in a group and make sure that you always have, you know, a designated watch guard, I guess. Someone who's going to keep an eye on everyone and make sure who's in the bathroom, who's getting a drink, are we all together, and make sure that everyone gets home safely, really.
Yeah, and if everyone looks out for each other, then it's great.
Right.
Now, as we're wrapping up this great conversation, what do you hope for in the future of women?
Yeah, so I've thought about this question a lot, and I want to throw it to this Italian poet who I'm a huge fan of. Her name is Carla Lonzi, and she has a really famous quote where she says, "What I have to say, I say by myself." And I just find that so powerful and inspiring. And if I had one message to give to the women who come after me and take over Girl Talk, it would probably be that, you know. I really want women in the future to just feel like they can say what they have to say without waiting for anyone's permission or feeling fear about what the backlash might be.
Yeah, that is great advice. Thank you again so much, Lexi, for being our lovely guest today.
Thank you for having me.
On a final note, we want to thank all our guests who have been a part of our amazing show today. But before we leave, we want to highlight our final guest who is supposed to be joining us today from Ukraine.
Мы сейчас в племени Химба, которое берет свое начало в племени Херера. История печальная.
In light of the current circumstances they are facing, she is still there bravely fighting for her country as the Colonel of the Border Guard. Our support, thoughts and prayers are with her and those affected. Thank you all for turning in, and we will see you next time.